And so, Angie, I guess I'll start with what would seem like the obvious question, but given the circumstances, I feel a lot of folks have something to say about this. What does it mean to have a season again after losing all of last spring?
I think we're all just really excited and maybe a little more grateful for the opportunity to get to play because, like most things in life, if something's kind of taken away from you, you start to just appreciate it a little bit more. So I think we're just appreciative of the opportunity, and for our athletes, it's just a chance to play together with their buddies who they've grown up with. So yeah, we're excited.
Now, I understand you came here from Forest Lake, but if you don't mind, what is your background with the sports and what led you to go from Forest Lake to Stillwater?
Sure. So I graduated from Forest Lake High School. I was a multi-sport athlete, and then I went on to play softball at St. Cloud State University. I started there for 4 years at the shortstop position, and my team, my senior year, took third place in the nation at the D2 World Series. And then I was still student teaching. I became the head coach at Forest Lake High School, which is where, like I said, I went to school. Um, and I was 22 years old, student teaching, and I was a head coach at Forest Lake. I didn't really know what I was getting into exactly, but I knew it would help me at the time get a teaching position in Forest Lake. And so I started in 2005 with the Rangers, and then continued with them all the way through the 2015 season. So 11 seasons in Forest Lake. We took the team to the state tournament from 2008 through 2013. So 6 years in a row, we went to the state tournament, won the section championship in the 7A conference. Then I had an opportunity to go coach at the University of St. Thomas with John Cheetah in 2016. And so I kind of took a step back. I had two children of my own kind of in the early part of the decade there. So I, was a mom of two, a teacher, a coach, and I just kind of needed a step back. And so I went to St. Thomas and helped out there for a season. And if people don't know, Coach John Cheetah at St. Thomas is one of the best fast pitch coaches in the world. So it was just an opportunity to go learn from a mentor of mine. And then I continued teaching in Forest Lake, and it was really hard to teach and to drive down to St. Paul, too. That was not easy either. But I know that I have a passion for coaching, so I didn't want to get out of it either. So trying to find a better fit. And so I then in 2017, I applied for a position here in Stillwater as a teacher because it was really, really hard for me to continue to teach in Forest Lake and not be the softball coach anymore. It just because I cared so much about the program, and that was gut wrenching for me. So then I decided to Andy Fields over at Oakland Middle School hired me as a teacher in Stillwater, and so I jumped on board, and then I was an assistant coach with Beetle in the 2018 and 2019 seasons, and then in 2020 we obviously didn't have a season, and so when Beetle retired this past fall, then I put my hat in the ring, and Ricky Michael hired me. So.
Going off that last point, having no season last year to having what looks like will be a regular season, how do you get the athletes prepared and how does it influence scouting, prep, all of that? Because you don't have last year's results to draw from. And Ted and I, we joked about how unpredictable this season could be, not having any precedent to base estimates on. So to have no season and then have to kick things up again, what are some of the challenges that come with that?
Well, luckily for us, a lot of the athletes are returning from our 2019 season. In 2019, we had 4 seniors, and obviously they moved on to college. And then last year, we would have only had one senior had we had a season. So we've only lost 5 players over the past 2 years. So, and because I was an assistant prior, for me, I know a lot of the athletes, and we do have a lot of returning athletes from the section roster of 2019. So I feel like the transition has not been super difficult just because we all have known each other for a while, and there aren't a ton of newcomers to the varsity team, that is. But as far as like, yeah, scouting reports and things like that, I believe, and especially with the team we have this year, that if we just take care of what we need to take care of, we're going to be very tough to beat. I put a lot of time and focus into ourselves and taking care of what we need to do individually and collectively. And I try not to, I guess, put in a ton of time on scouting reports and things like that, especially with a pitcher like Allison Benning. It's tough to gauge hitters against someone other than Allison when she just is so different. She throws so much harder than most high school pitchers. So if I were to go scout another team, what they do against a regular high school pitcher is going to be very different than what they do against Allison Benning. And so, yeah, we just need to take care of ourselves. We have an excellent team up and down the lineup and even on the bench as well. So I just believe we need to take care of ourselves and and stay healthy, like you said or alluded to. We just need to, as much as we can, do all the things to make sure we stay on the field.
How would you say your time as head coach at Forest Lake and then going to St. Thomas, how do you think that prepared you to take up the head coaching position once again?
Well, because I coached in the Suburban East Conference for 11 years as a head coach, that prepared me really well. I mean, I know the conference, I know the other coaches in the conference, I know how their teams tend to play. I feel like I know, it's definitely makes it a lot easier than if I was an actual new head coach. I understand the commitment level, and I understand how time consuming it is, and how much effort it takes to run the program and to work with the youth program. Yeah, so I feel very prepared to continue to be a varsity head coach. At St. Thomas, I learned a lot from Coach John Cheetah. I learned a lot about hitting, especially how to hit a rise ball. I don't think I really understood it as fully as I do now. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the past going to coaches clinics, and I've played college softball, and then I've spent a lot of time over the last 15 years going to coaches clinics and trying to learn and study and understand the game better and better and better. And then that year at St. Thomas really helped me even more. So yeah, I feel quite knowledgeable about the game. It's just maybe a little rusty because I haven't been coaching from the third base side of things for a while. So as far as like running the game, as far as making decisions offensively and then calling pitches and things, I might be a little rusty here just because it's been 4 years or so. But I think things are good. I'm a big culture person. I care very much that the athletes walk away from their season feeling like it was, it meant something, it mattered, and they improved not only in the game of softball, but they're getting information that will help them for life. And I feel pretty strongly about that. So we're working on all those things.
You spoke of Allison Benning. Of course, she is perhaps the biggest name on Stillwater's softball roster going to Oregon. And looking at the numbers that have been posted so far, she's done quite well. living very much up to the name and the talent that she has possessed for years. To have her as the nucleus of this team that brought back a lot of athletes from previous years, how has she helped get everyone back up to speed? Someone like her, who you know will do a good job when she goes on the mound, not going to make a lot of mistakes, and already racking up a bunch of strikeouts. It's, I imagine, for you a joy to have Allison and to continue developing her after getting to work with her these last couple of years as an assistant coach.
Yeah. Allison is a great pitcher, a great hitter as well, and she's very strong defensively as a position player too. She is kind of, I don't know, just maybe once in a lifetime type athlete that a coach gets to work with. She's an outstanding softball player. I think she's in the 4 games we've played, and one of them has gone through the 8th inning. I think she's only allowed, I want to say, around 6 hits in 4 games. And we do have Kyra Murphy as well, who is a very strong pitcher, but Kyra has been injured. So hopefully soon Kyra will be able to pitch as well. But yeah, Allison is really good, and she's improved a lot over the last 2 years. So since she, the last time she pitched, she was a sophomore, and she's gotten a lot better since she was the spring of her sophomore year. So she can hit her spots. She has good movement. She has a curveball and a screwball. She also has a devastating changeup that you do not see coming. And yeah, and she hits her spots on her fastball. So she is really tough to hit, and she throws in the upper 60s. So that is very fast for a high school pitcher. So yeah, Allison is a big piece of the puzzle for us. I've never been a head coach with a D2 or better pitcher on my team. So I've always had a very defensive mindset. As you know, I teach fundamentals of defense. That's always kind of been my strength. So I think hopefully we can improve our defense a little bit from years past, and then put it together with Allison and Kyra pitching. And I think we have a very strong team as far as not allowing very many runs to take place this year. So yeah.
Who are some other athletes that have left an impression on you in the first week of the season or in practice? Now that you've had a chance to work with everyone again, who are some
Yeah.
athletes that you've enjoyed working with so far?
Well, I really enjoy, and I'm not just saying this because I have trouble not telling the truth personally, but I enjoy all of our athletes. They are really great young women, and obviously with a new coach, I mean, anybody who comes in is going to be different than the previous head coach. It's just, you got to stay with who you are, and so I do things slightly different than Bob Beadle, and our kids have really bought into what we're trying to do, which is play one pitch at a time, and play at a high level every single day. We don't want to play the jersey. We don't want to have these up and down swings. We want to just play consistently and continue to get better throughout the season. So I've really tried to make sure that message is very clear. Taylor Gray has been doing a great job at third base and leading the team as our leadoff hitter these last few games. She's a really strong hitter and a strong defensive player as well. Alexis Monty has been kind of a surprise and been doing awesome. She's been playing some right field and also batting second. But she has a lot of speed, and she's been able to get on base quite a bit for us in that number 2 spot. Kat Smetana is probably our other, besides Allison, our other leading offensive player. And she had a strained quadricep, but she's gotten fully healed now, and she's able to play first base and also catch. but she's a really very good hitter, and she also hits from the left side like Allison. Um, Morgan Wohlers is a very strong player. She's a senior, and she's been playing shortstop and just doing a great job for us at shortstop so far. And she's a very good athlete, plays hockey too. Um, Kyra Murphy, like I said, she's getting healed up, but she's a good hitter. So is Gabby LaFavor. Gabby could see some time at second and in the outfield. Kyra has been playing first base when she hasn't been pitching. Amber Scalia is a really good player as well, good athlete, and plays some outfield, along with basketball, as we know. And then Lily Grunner, she's a freshman. She's a really good all-around player. She's been playing some second base too. And then I have Michaela Corin. She's catching for us some games. Good sophomore catcher. And then we have the Johnsons, McKenna and Maddie Johnson in the outfield. Adriana Massey is a senior. She hurt her back in a practice, but she's healing as well. And so she'll be getting some time. So honestly, I have about 14 very, very strong players who are all going to see time on the varsity field. And it's makes for competitive practices because we have a lot of good athletes.
Sounds like it, and sounds like it didn't take long for you to find something positive to say about all of them, which is often the problem with coaching. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, but you get so much out of it and they all leave a mark. And it sounds like they already have with you.
Yeah, they're really great kids, really great kids. They've been super fun to work with so far, and we hope to continue in the same direction we've started.
You yourself played for a long time. You've coached for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What was the transition like from player to coach? And what have you learned over the years through your time at Forest Lake, St. Thomas, and now at Stillwater?
Yeah, from player to coach, that was a while ago, but that was tough. I'm really competitive, and I have a high intensity level, I would say, as both a player and a coach. I also am someone who I just believe in, if you're going to do something, like do it all out. Otherwise, why are you doing it? So that was an adjustment to go from the college mindset of like how hard you work in college and how intense you are and whatnot to high school, especially at that time for me, because the high school team I started working with, they weren't used to, I guess, the intensity of it or the efficiency of how I wanted to run practices and things. I just really strongly believe in like utilizing your time and being all in, and wherever you are, like be there fully. So that was an adjustment. I needed to learn to have more patience and try to remember what it was like in high school. At the time, that was hard. And what was your second question? I can't quite remember. Sorry.
It's all right. What have you learned over the years through your time coaching at Forest Lake and then going to St. Thomas, now being at Stillwater? You've been around the diamond more than once. So what have you picked up? What have you learned over the years as a coach that maybe surprised you when you first decided to put on that head coach's cap?
Yeah, I think, well, just sort of, I'm grateful because I get to work as a teacher too, on the same kind of thing. So just being able to work better with student athletes, I would say, as a teacher and a coach, and being able to do that all day long, I think helps me. Just, the teaching helps the coaching and the coaching helps the teaching. But just becoming a better communicator, trying to make sure that what I'm saying is pretty clear. I think I've improved a lot at just communicating. I think I also have learned a lot about how to work with different types of people, and trying to figure out what what might work for this athlete doesn't necessarily work for that athlete. So just trying to figure out the best way to work with a variety of young women. I think I've learned a lot about those two things. I would say is just the different personalities and my ability to communicate my message. I think has improved quite a bit over the years, and I've learned a ton about softball since I started coaching. Like I said earlier, I've just put in a lot of time to try to understand the game better. And I played shortstop in college, so I needed to learn a lot about catching, pitching, outfield, and hitting. Just understanding how to teach hitting better. And I learned a lot of that at St. Thomas, so that definitely helped me there too. So. Mhm.
And I've got a couple more biographical notes I wanted to address with you. And one of them is this: who would you say were the athletes, whether it was baseball, softball, or any other sport? Who were the people you looked up to as you made your way through your playing days and now coaching?
Hmm. That's a good question. I mean, Lisa Fernandez, I would say, just the way she competed on the mound. She was an Olympic pitcher. And, back then we didn't get to see softball on TV a whole lot growing up. Now softball is on TV all the time in the spring, and it's growing more and more. The more coverage they get, the more people who are interested in watching. But I would say her, and then Dot Richardson. She also was an athlete that I looked up to at the time, but same kind of thing. It just was rare to be able to see them play on TV. It just didn't happen all that often, which is, yeah, it's great that now kids can, and with the internet too. I mean, these athletes can watch softball, a ton of it if they want to, and also even just like on Instagram, just the constant highlights and whatnot. But I would say those two athletes when I was growing up, I looked up to just the way they competed on the field. But yeah.
And even though you've only had 1 week as a head coach, you've been with the Stillwater program for a few years now. What kind of mark have they left on you? You spoke of how all of them are your favorites, which it does sound like a cop out, but I've been around sports long enough to know that the coaches, the ones that do well, they are the ones that will find something good to say about every athlete, whether they're leadoff or cleanup or your ace pitcher, or maybe that reliever that just comes in for the setup. You never know. I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what role, there's
Right.
something
Right.
to be said about it.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say is the impact the Stillwater players have had on you since you joined the program and now you get to steer the ship as a head coach?
The Stillwater kids they're fun. Like, I don't know, they just have a little bit of different sense about themselves, and they keep things light. They keep things fun, and they know how to compete, especially when they need to. Obviously, in the 2018 season, I think I just reread today, we were 7-12 and then won the state championship in 2018. And so they really turned it on, obviously, at that point in time. And like I said, a lot of these same kids, they were in 8th grade or 9th grade during that 2018 season, but they were with us. Our top players now were on that same team. And yeah, I would just say they're just fun. They're fun kids. And they know how to enjoy the game and not take themselves or the game too seriously. So because I'm not super good at that part, like the just being light about things, I'm not great at it, which I acknowledge. So it's good for me. It's good for me to have them bring that kind of energy, because sometimes I forget about that kind of energy. I take it a little too intensely or seriously, and they make your day brighter for sure, and they just kind of have fun. So yeah, I would say that about them.
A couple more thoughts I had. This may seem like an odd question given the flow, but it is kind of a fun way to learn some things about my guests, no matter what
Sure.
hat. But what would you say is the most unusual thing about yourself that people wouldn't know if they met you for the first time?
um, hmm, Unusual thing about myself. I have chickens. I'll say that. We have chickens. So last March, when we were in court, once the pandemic hit, we were in the pandemic or quarantine, at the time. And my son, Jackson, who's just turned 10 years old, for some reason, he likes dinosaurs, and, chickens are like the closest relatives of like the T-Rex or something like that. Anyway, my son got obsessed with the idea of getting chickens. So he just kept talking about it and talking about it. And when you're in quarantine and you're with a 9-year-old at the time all day long who is obsessed with the idea of chickens, we finally kind of gave in to the idea, my husband and I, and we got some baby chicks, and there were 6 of them at the time. We somehow, one got sick, and then the other one, we don't know what happened to her, but we still have the 4 chickens, and now they're like, grown up, and they give us about an egg a day, which is really awesome. And they keep things fun around their house, except they just know, if you ever are interested in chickens, they do poop all over the place. So you have to deal with that. But otherwise, they're really fun to have. So we don't have any other animals, and I live on 5 acres out in Scandia. So they get to just kind of free range around our yard, and we've really enjoyed kind of taking care of them over the past year. So that's been a new thing in our life, are these chickens. So
In my head, I'm going 5 acres and the chickens have it all to themselves. So
yeah.
that's a lot of places to clean up.
Well, most
What-
of the
what-
time it's just in the yard, and that's no big deal. But
Oh, okay.
if it's on the driveway, we also have a basketball court, and if it's on there, then it's more of a problem. But yeah, most of the time you don't notice it or don't know.
Okay.
Just on the driveway, it's annoying.
And they're animals. I mean, animals relieve themselves just like we do. They just don't
Yeah,
have toilets.
yeah, yeah.
And I can speak from experience. There was a Stillwater athlete on soccer who has her own pony and works with horses.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And they leave a mark too. So
yeah.
I'm like, where did this go? Like, I can't believe it. I'm talking about manure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh boy. Well, at least it's the chickens and not the players, because that would be really awkward.
Yes, for sure.
What else would you like to add about your journey as a player, as a coach, or just your work with sports, your involvement with sports? Is there anything else you'd like to add that perhaps we haven't touched on yet?
I don't think so. I teach health and phy ed here at Stillwater High School. So it's this is the first time, well, yeah, actually the very first time I've ever gotten to teach and coach in the same building. So that's been really nice for me, is to teach and coach in the same place and not have to drive somewhere after school, after I get done with teaching, to coach. So it's really nice to be here. I love Stillwater. I love my job, and I feel like I'm exactly where I should be, I guess, if that makes sense in life. I just feel like I'm in the right spot, and I'm really grateful and excited to be here and be the new Stillwater softball head coach.